So I was watching a Jordan Peterson clip the other day, and or actually right before I hopped on, which is so interesting. So Dr. Peterson comes in very strong again. I was just at his ARC conference, the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, last February. I was privileged enough to receive an invite. Dr. Peterson's great. Obviously, his stuff is all over my office and my studio. You guys can't see it here. But, Dr. Peterson's one of my heroes. He's been one of my heroes for a long time. I think contrary to Andrew Tate, he is the opposite of what Andrew Tate is. He's kind of like, Andrew Tate's kind of like the wannabe Jordan Peterson in a weird way, which is kind of a self-owned because they've kind of been, beefing back and forth for a while. And it was one of like the classic Peterson videos. I think this is the video of Peterson that I really like the best. The type of video of Peterson that I really like the best is that it was one of his old ones that he was doing at the University of Toronto, and he was just lecturing to his students, and it was like a clipped video that he put on his YouTube channel from like deep in the archives of when he was recording something for his classes way back before, Bill C-16, and he went on Rogan and talked about all the things that were going on with, gender pronouns and things like that. And he said something that I thought was really insightful. He said, people don't want to succeed, they just want to not fail. And I thought that was very, very interesting because I think it's really true. Because it's easy to be a failure now. It's very hard to succeed and to try at something that matters. And he had this really eloquent analogy about, he actually used a biological reference to do this, because if you looked at like zebras inside of the Sahara or the savannah in Africa, or if you looked at a school of fish, because all of these animals, they're pack animals, they're prey animals, they're not predator animals. They travel in packs to get numbers. And you realize that, the healthiest, the most well-fed, the most, safe people inside of a herd, whether it's zebras or fish, are always in the middle of the pack. They're never on the outside, because the people on the outside are the ones that get eaten by lions, by sharks, by predator fish, by anyone on the savannah, all those type of things. And so people don't want to stand out. They will do everything they can to kind of force their way to the middle. They'll swim to the middle, they'll move and graze to the middle, and they'll fatten themselves up, and they'll kind of blend in with the rest of the stripes and the scales. And, when people, I think that's why a lot of people right now, when people are online, and why I think a lot of this is a self-help analogy in a way, why the self-help people I think are failing is that they're teaching people to be a success. If you just follow me, you'll be successful. If you just do X, Y, and Z, you'll be successful. If you just do this program or this thing or check this box, you will be a quote-unquote success. And I've done that in the past. But Peterson's point, which I think is really accurate, is that people don't want that. They actually don't want what they're selling, which is why a lot of them are stalling out in the middle of thin air right now. They don't want to be successful. They just want to not fail. And that like blew my brain when I read about this, because I said, God, is that true? And it's easy to be a failure now than it's ever been. It's very hard to be a successful, because back even you take on the savannah in Africa, for example. It's like, if you don't work hard to kind of make yourself invincible and work yourself at the center of the pack, you are going to get picked off by a predator animal. It's just going to happen. But in the past, in human times, if you didn't succeed, at least in terms of basic physiology, you didn't gather food, you couldn't start a fire, you couldn't provide economically, you couldn't find a job, you couldn't find a vocation that you were drawn to. All of those things really mattered back in the day, because that was your family's ability to eat. That was your family's ability to, create a sense of importance for yourself and a sense of importance for other people. And that's really important to get right. But really now, with all the convenience we have with supermarkets and high-speed internet and dating apps and all those things, it's easier now to be mediocre than to be successful at anything. And it's really, really hard to succeed and try at something that matters. It's harder, I think, in that way than it's ever been. And we've oftentimes heard the opposite, that everyone, like I said, everyone wants to succeed. A rising tide lifts all boats. Everything is this, everything's that. But it's time to question that assertion, I think. And I just don't think it's true. And it's not true because failure is a lot more comfortable for people, because it doesn't require change. It doesn't require growth. It doesn't require you challenging yourself and pushing forward on things that really matter to you. It just doesn't. And it's a very low bar for the success that you have when you're talking about any field of endeavor that's worthwhile. So, when people online tell you that success can be easily obtained, that if you just do my 5-step thing, you'll, make a $30K month in your business, or you'll find love, or you'll do this, or you'll do whatever. just don't listen to these people. Just don't listen to them anymore. I think we're all getting burned out here. I'm going to talk about this as I close the show later on. But, success is attainable. And if you want to succeed, you should succeed. I believe we have an obligation to be successful if we are going to bring a lot of our values back inside of our society. If we're able to bring our values back inside of culture, that's going to be a very good thing. But the reason why our culture has been so valueless for so long is because of this exact point that Dr. Peterson makes. People don't want to succeed. They don't want to bring their values forward. They don't want to fight for their values. They don't want to say that these are the things we should be going after. This is why everyone who says this, whether they're right or wrong, and people have bad values and they spread values all the time. Andrew Tate's a good example of this. This is why there are so few people like that. And also why people, regardless, again, of their audience, they're so drawn to these people. Stalin and Hitler were exactly like this. They had massive audiences. They had massive. I just watched this great documentary on the Nazis on Netflix the other day, and just when I was watching this colorized live version of one of Hitler's old speeches, and the tens and hundreds of thousands of people, the millions of people in Nazi Germany that were cheering for him and saying fuck yeah, dude, you go, all this sort of thing. It's like that's insane to me. But when you look at this, it's not, because success is hard. People respect success a lot. They respect it a lot. But there's a reason why a lot of people are not successful. There's a reason why. But you should succeed. I want everyone in this channel to succeed if they want to. Success is obtainable, but you'll never be able to be consistent with it if you don't understand what you're up against, if you don't understand that you're going to stand out, if you don't understand that you're going to have to make enemies along the way, if you don't understand what your values are and how to really fund them in terms of where you go in a field of endeavor. So success is very hard, it's difficult, and it's almost impossible. And it's much harder to be a success than it is to be a failure. But I do think at the end of the day that it's worth it, because we need successful people.